Yeah. Feel like we flowing down a Milky Way. Yeah. Yeah, I smashed the beat one time. See your resume like this should be hard to find. I do have a tendency to do what's great and leave a legacy that's hard to duplicate. What's up, everybody? Stupid if you think that you can test me, that's a no-no. Affected with the hits, your man, Will Forster. What's going on? Real Talk Chronicles in the building, baby. Just chilling. Just listening to some, new bust a bus. You never know what kind of mood you're gonna be in when you get on these things and get ready to kick it about life and what's happening in the world today and in our communities and just all kind of stuff popping off and happening. So happy Wednesday, everybody, and I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Snow, it is what it is. Mother Nature's she's not for play. I hope you're all safe and sound, to be honest with you. I know being bunkered in is no joke. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. When we started off that way. Hey, Pinky, how are you, sis? Everybody, welcome to Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. My co-host, Kevin Branzetti, will be coming in shortly. Sure, he's doing things what he has to do. How are y'all guys doing today? I hope everybody's being safe. Hope you're wearing your masks, protecting yourselves. Just wanted to let you know, this Tuesday, I have Eric Adams, a special edition of Eric Adams at 5 o'clock. So try to tune in. I ain't going to have him for that long. But we got mayoral candidate, Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams stopping by with me. And without further ado, I have Kevin. What's up, brother? How are you today?
I'm doing well, Bill. Doing well. Sorry, a couple of moments late.
It's all right.
Just kind of a mayhem kind of day.
Yeah, well, sometimes you got to take a step back and move off. And first and foremost, everybody, let's wish Kevin a happy birthday. It was his birthday yesterday. It was his 62nd birthday.
You want me to catch up to you, huh?
Yeah, exactly. How was your birthday, brother?
Very good. Actually, it was the big 5-0.
Oh,
that was a big guy.
Yeah, you are trying to catch up.
Yeah, that's I got to admit, that's a big one, right? Like,
yeah, that's a good one.
I didn't think 40 was a big one or 30, but 50 is a big number.
Right. What did you
I had a COVID snowstorm birthday. What else did I? Yeah.
Right.
At home with the kids and did nothing.
Did they enjoy the snow? Did they play in the snow?
Yeah, of course.
Good. Let me ask you a question. Sitting back thinking about, like you said, coming on that beautiful number of 50. I mean, right now any number is great, but just make it 50. Like, did you ever think your life would, law enforcement? What did you think you was going to be growing up?
I don't know, Bill. So I don't know. Like, if I try to think back to, elementary school, junior high school age, I don't know. High school, it was about, and I think we were all like this, the people like guys I grew up with, just you started thinking about taking tests, getting a career, and getting a pension.
Right.
And it was kind of the neighborhood I grew up in. It's lower middle class, and so you just wanted security. But as I got a little older and got closer towards the police department, it was something I started to want more and more, kind of deal. We talked about. My father was a cop. Your father was a cop.
Yeah.
It's a little bit in your system. There's somewhere. I think I had blue in my veins a little before I got on.
What's so funny, Kev? When you think back about, since I'm gonna make a bit of this show about you, for a few, because you deserve it, and I'm gonna celebrate you.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah. When you think back about talking to your father about law enforcement, what were those like lessons? like.
Well, I'm laughing because my father was a different generation. We didn't talk.
Right.
Like there was no law enforcement advice. There was no, like if I wanted to get war stories from my father of what he had done, I had to talk to his friends
Right.
and get more stories out of them. My father was an
Mhm.
old school cop who believed in you don't bring it home, right? Like, and we saw a lot of that, right? A lot of guys had that mentality. You do not bring anything home. And so he did
Mhm.
not
Did you
talk about it.
when you were law enforcement? Did you bring it home to your family?
Yeah. Yeah. I was always very open with what, things I did. So, your work day. Yeah.
It's so funny. I was totally different. Unless somebody told you I was law enforcement, I didn't mention it. I like I said, I come from I had two family members, law enforcement, and then I had cousins, Secret Service and things of that magnitude. A lot of military, but I talked to my uncle a lot about being one of the first Black Marines. I talked to him and what it was like to, um, excuse me, you know, be a Marine fighting for the Marines, but still being Black. You know what I'm saying?
What year?
Ooh, well, he died. He passed away. If any of my cousins are listening, please let me know the year my uncle. He died. He was 90. He got the Congressional Medal of Honor from Barack Obama.
Oh,
So
nice.
um, yeah.
That's
So what?
that's incredibly impressive.
Yeah. So
You can't
a
you
lot of
can't fake that one. Like, there's a lot of awards that we've seen cops get awards. You can fake a lot of awards.
yeah,
You ain't faking that one though.
yeah. And that's why a lot of times I listen and marvel to when I listen to a lot of people always talk about God bless America, the USA, and stuff like that. And I'm not sitting here disrespecting the USA or taking anything away from being an American. I don't want anybody to think I'm saying that. But a lot of times when we talk about truth and justice and fairness, and when I would hear the stories and he talked to me about being a Marine, and then the fact that he still had to come home and still had to uh didn't know if he could get a job or you know can't whites only, blacks only. You just sit over here and fought for your country, and then come home to the worst racism that you could ever imagine in your life. So I was just saying that how a lot of times reality check still understands color. Like I said, a lot of times we've met a lot of people in our lives that have brought this job home with us, and it was cool that you were transparent with it, and I hoped it worked for you to divulge things that happened in your day. I think I don't know if I ever took being like law enforcement 24 hours. I may have took it from the hours that I did it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I just consider just sharing. It's a major part of my life, right? Like,
Right.
especially look back then, it was a major part of my physical life, right? I spent more than half my life,
At a
those
place.
years working, right? We were doing, once a week or work around the clock. You do doubles all the time, so you spend a lot of time there. If you're not willing to share that with your family,
Right.
how do they know who you are anymore? Like eventually you
Yeah.
become somebody else and they don't know. Now, do I have to share misery? No, like, I wasn't an angry guy. Like we've worked with cops
No, yeah,
who are
no, yeah,
angry cops. So like if you're angry at work and then you bring home the anger, I see that we should leave that where it,
right.
but I wasn't an angry guy. So to me,
No,
it was good stuff. It was, yeah, were there aggravations and annoyances and stupidity? Yeah, of course there were.
let me ask you a question, Kev. Do you think, and everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. This is, we're celebrating Kevin's birthday, but we're talking about, law enforcement, and this is just segueing into uh, law enforcement in a certain ideologies and mentalities. Like you've never been. I don't even think since I've known you, Kevin, I don't think I've ever really seen you mad. Um, is that a testament to your upbringing, or is just, like, or I mean, like, because you always been straight laced, Kevin. You know what I'm saying? Like, you come to work high. What are we going to do today? Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get paid. That's So
We are.
it wasn't. Yeah, no, but I say all that to say, like, it wasn't about you having a mentality like, yo, bad guys versus good guys. Like, I never heard you talk, cowboys and Indians, and good cops, bad cops. I never talk, I mean, good cops, bad
Cops and
perps.
robbers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I never heard you talk that. It was just like, well, what are we gonna do? So I'm asking you, like, where did you get that mentality from?
It's one of those things that I always kind of look back at myself and reflect, and my family and my kids. I think genetics is kind of a major part of it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You see things and you grow up with it. But I look at my own kids and I look at the differences, and I swear I raised them the same. And one is, easy, and one's a little less easy at times, right? And I'm not going to say which, because that'll, get me in trouble. And and I look at myself and my brothers, and we have different personalities. One of us is very fiery, and one of us is me. You know, I don't know. I don't know where any, like any human being gets their temperament from.
Right.
Is it
Well, I mean,
DNA? Is
do you
it
think
partially upbringing? I don't know.
do you think you took after your mother, your father?
You take after both, right?
No, I know, but I
I
mean, like,
think, yeah, I think I got more of my mother's temperament, though now more my father is calmer, right? Like he had a short fuse when we were young.
right.
Um,
Like, I know for a fact. I mean, you know, my father's personality oozes out my skin tone, out of my skin. My mother's temperament is I mean, not that they both didn't tell me, or not that I both, but my mother would always train me, and I say that word, train me, and my father to, like, don't ever let anybody take advantage of you. Don't let anybody do this. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do that. So, has that come back to haunt me? You'd be like, yeah. I mean, I found myself, one time fighting in school over a pencil. You'd be like, yo, that's my pencil. No, it's not. Yo, I can't go home without that pencil. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo,
yeah,
you're not taking it. So I say all that to say is just like how we are brought up. And I was telling somebody, I don't know, I was having a talk with somebody, and I was telling them how, oh yeah, Monday. Because, well, Monday, with Real Talk with Al Taylor, we had Alvin Bragg on the show, and he's running for Manhattan District Attorney against Cy Vance. And I was just talking, we were talking law enforcement, and we were talking about what would we do in lieu of law enforcement, what kind of changes will we do going forward with law enforcement. And I told them, I said, I think that there should be there should be officers assigned to the borough, trained in how to deal with EDPs.
mm-hmm.
Either maybe two officers per tour, but they're assigned to the borough. That way, lights and sirens to any job within their confines of their borough, right? Either two, and one, or two, all the way around the board. And when you get a job over EDP, Bill and Kevin Burrow,
Mm-hmm.
you have to respond.
Mm-hmm.
You have to respond. Even if you're playing, you're you're backing up sectors, or you backfilling, sectors for the day, or conditions, or whatever things that we had to do back then. But you have to go out. That is top priority. EDP, until you or I get there, because we're coming from the borough. So we're coming from, say we're talking Manhattan North, which is an easy thing for us to remember. Coming from 100th Street to, say, the 3-3 or the 3-2, lights and sirens straight up. Contain until we get there. Kevin and I, oh, listen, what's the problem? Blah, 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 blah. We're waiting for EMS to come. I felt this is what needs to be done going forward.
Yeah,
What's your take on that?
Yeah, we talked a little about this a couple weeks ago. My thought on this is, I think you actually need more than that from the borough. I
Hold on.
think it's
EDP is an emotionally disturbed person, Steph. Sorry for that. Yeah.
yeah.
And hello, everybody chiming in. Yes, I'm sorry.
We're
That's
sorry
not
about that.
accurate.
It does happen to us once in a while. I'm glad somebody
Yeah.
called us out. I
Yeah.
try not to use those terms, but
Yeah.
when you have a person who's having a mental
Lapse or problems. Yes.
breakdown, mental crisis, I think is a good term for it.
Yeah.
I think having teams assigned permanently to handle those, but it's not just about handling it at the incident, it's the follow-up. The way we treat domestic violence. Domestic violence, you have an incident in the home, there's a cop response, reports are filled out, an arrest is made or not made, whatever it is. But the next day, or even the next tour, domestic violence officers are going back to the house, and they're going to go back again, and they're going to meet her at work and him place. They're going to follow up, and recommend things, and either work to get her out, work to get them help, whatever the scenario is. But it's not left as it's a 911 job. We answered. They're in crisis, and any one of us can be in crisis. I can be in crisis with my girl, and one of us could throw some dishes across the room, right? Like, it can happen. Have I ever done that? No, but I'm sure I've smashed something in my lifetime. Have I ever punched a wall?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
I admit to nothing.
Exactly.
But so anybody could have a crisis, and the crisis incident isn't. You don't learn the totality of what's going on. So domestic violence officers go back. We need.
Hold on for Kevin. Hold on for
Sure.
a second, Stephanie. EDP is the acronym that it's just cop jargon, or what we say over the radio is a call. So I think that was just police talk, but it's it's not a defensive. And I'm just interjecting. I just wanted to get it off my chest. It's nothing defensive or negative on people, because a lot of times people like yourselves don't know what that is. So I just wanted to put some clarity to that, because like I said, when we talk EDP, I don't want it to sound that we're insensitive to a person having an emotional breakdown, like Kevin said, because we feel that they need to be handled with kid gloves, and a lot of times they're not. So I just wanted to bring that to the light, Steph. Go ahead, Kevin.
It was actually a term the police department came up with many years ago to try to soften the sound of it.
Yes.
So that we don't say we have a nut on the corner of 112 and St. Nick, or right.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what, right. Like, it's a crazy guy.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's an emotionally disturbed person, which became EDP. But back to the thought on this, Bill. Like, we need to follow up, and I think it's cops with a mental health professional. Who the mental health professional may or may not be working and respond with the cops to the EDP, but the follow-up, we should have, somebody from some sort of city services, a social worker, whatever, going with the cops to the person's house the next day to talk to their family, meet them at the hospital, because they're going to be taken in. Or they get taken into the psych ward. It's a 24-hour, 48-hour, 7-day hold, depending upon the scenario. We need to follow up with them and learn about them, and learn why they're in crisis and what can be done, and can we help them. But what we're given as police is we only deal with them in crisis, and it's not, and honestly, it's not our job afterwards. But whose job is it?
So do you think, like, if you and I, like, say when we speak to whomever, because like I said, I'm trying to get and this is, I'm letting the cat out the bag, everybody, the Real Talk Chronicle family. I'm trying to get everybody running for mayor on this show, and this way we can ask them what's their thought process on how to deal going forward with the EDP, because they are going to be selecting the next police commissioner if Commissioner Shea is not carried over, which I'm sure everybody doesn't think he will be. But
rarely ever happens.
Yeah, very rarely happens that any new administration keeps the old regime. Pinky asked a question, and I'll let you answer this, Kevin, on your thoughts, and I'll go into it. Hey, Cora, how are we doing, sis? She said, "Are there any plans to train the officers to respond responsibly to EDP calls?"
It's already done. that training exists. I'll still go with the problem is we don't understand them, very well. And a person in a mental crisis, an emotional crisis, could be 100 things, right? It could be somebody who really is, for lack of term, crazy, and needs to be institutionalized. And it could just be the guy's just having a bad day. You just found out something happened. You found your wife in bed with another, and it could be 100 things. We treat it all the same across the board because we don't know what the background is.
Well, what's so funny? It's very funny that you said that, and I use the word figuratively, not literally. That I think about my aunt. I had an aunt that had schizophrenia, right? And I remember as a young child, she was at our house, and all of a sudden she was like, "Yo, they're coming to get me. I hear this and I hear that." And I was a young boy, and she's running and she's hiding in the closets, and my mother was like, "Yo, Aunt Juanita, come on," and it just she was trying to pacify it until she saw I got a little scared. I was such a young boy. I wasn't like 6 or something. And then she got a little perturbed. She was like, "Oh, listen, like you got to stop. You scaring my son." You know what I'm saying? But
and she can't stop.
Yeah. But then I'm thinking about how it would have been back then if officers would have responded to that. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, you said something that was so correct. And this is not knocking, NYPD. It's just officers are not trained at a time to handle emotionally disturbed persons. Because I think about the times when I responded to EPs, right? The one, in the office, in the house. Listen, where's he at? He's in the back. Okay, he's cool. EMS came at the same time. We were lucky to have good responding EMS workers at the time. So it's cool. Blah blah blah. They calmed it down because I think a lot of times when people are having breakdowns, whatever it is, seeing the blue uniform is not a tranquilizer. It's something that escalates.
It could escalate it, or putting your body in close proximity to them could escalate it. We don't know what their triggers are. And for us as cops, our first response into that house is safety, right? We're not letting that person go into their kitchen, that knives, that ain't happening. We don't want them going into, even to their bedroom, right? We want them to stay where they are. We want them to sit, and we want them to sit on the couch, on a chair, and we stand above them, because for safety, that's good for us, right? Like a man trying to jump out of his seat at me, I have a tactical advantage. I'm standing, right? Absolutely. He's going to lose the fair majority of the time, but that may or may not work for somebody. I've had my kid go through some pretty traumatical stuff, and I've had to call 911. I've had cops. So I've had cops and I've had social workers respond to my house. Rockland County has an emergency response team of social workers. 24/7 they work. You call them up, you're having somebody in your house who's having a mental crisis, they will come to your home. It is a terrific asset to have. So I have had the mental crisis team in my house, I'd say 3 times. I could be wrong. It could be 4. And the cops the same amount of times. There is a difference, of how each one agitated or lowered the tone in the room with my child. My child at the time was 15. Mental health crisis team sat at the dining room table with my child. Cop stood over my child when my child was on the couch. There's a difference in how my child reacted to either. I'm not saying the cop's wrong. I'm not telling you the cop's wrong either, right? Like,
how did you feel about that though?
I stood outside not outside of the house, but I stood far away outside of because I was part of what was agitating the
I understand
scenario,
that.
right? So,
but I'm just trying to say, like, and de-escalating that situation. There's two scenarios you just presented, and Pinky, we're going to get to your questions. Thank you. So please keep them coming, though. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host Kevin Branzetti, and we're just talking real talk. That's what we're having, and also give Kevin some happy birthday shout outs. You know,
I've gotten them.
He's 50. Well, you can get some more. He's 50. You know what I'm saying? He's 50 now. He get an AARP card now too. Exactly. There you go. You get discounts though. It's all right though. Take it. Embrace it. You ain't gotta look. You ain't gotta look and feel 50. You just embrace the perks.
I do. I embrace every age. Age don't scare me.
Exactly.
I plan on living well past 100.
So I'm gonna get to that too, Steph. So the reason why I said that is because I never forget how sometimes, like I've always felt like I've always had ice water in my veins, right? And I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm just saying it's just how I felt like I've been able to detach from certain things without emotionally getting involved or getting upset at something. And I just remember the time, like it just caused a terrible disdain for me with FD at one point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've had some other conversations with them that made me kind of have a disdain with them. But I never forget when my mother was sick, you know, and she went to a diabetic shock. And FD comes to the house, and I let him in. Now I got a wall full of police plaques and awards and everything, and they're sitting there, you know, it comes over. I give over the job. I call, yo, MOS mother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Boom. FD came in and they were on some, what's wrong with her? Like, like looking around. And I said, yo, Kevin, I swear, it's about to be a real big problem. It really was. It really was. And I told dudes, I said, yo, listen, man, this is my mother's house. I'm an MOS. Have some respect before this gets real different. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I put over the job that I'm an MOS. That should have made it more, sensitive to you. To come in here and talk about what's wrong with her, she's on in the street peeing on herself. Oh my God. Like I was just like, yo, dude, you know. So that's the only reason why I asked that. It just made me think about it, how you said one officer was one way and another person was another way. Because when people are dealing with crises and they're trained to do that, they have a certain mentality more than when people are working and they're insensitive to those around them. Like I think I've always said, one of my best qualities is my personality. You know what I'm saying? Even like Kevin, even though you're a centralized person, as you've stated before in the past, you're still not an ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, no,
that's the nicest things you ever said to me, Bill. I'm not an ass.
But you know what I'm saying? Because the bottom line is, like, I may come in and have a personality like, hey, what's going on? Da, 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 da. Doesn't mean I'm not an ass. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and then when people see us, they see color automatically. They see color automatically. I don't care who's working, what situation, you see color. So I say all that to say, you can be the nicest person in the world, but they see a white person. I come in and I'm black. If it's a black family, I can be an ass, and they'll be like, yo, officer, I don't want to talk to him. And I'm the one that's the problem. You the nice guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I say all that to say, but, like you said, like when you were dealing with this situation in your house, did you ever go into cop mode? Like, okay, the officer's right. I'm going to do this because if this was me, I would do that. Like did you
believe me? I watched it. I watched it well, right? Like I'm, you got to clearly pay attention and make sure nothing happens. I tell you what would have been real intriguing if my kid would have jumped up when the cop was there, right? Like, and if it turned into a scenario where like my kid had to get put in cuffs, if he would have been put in cuffs, in a fight in my house, I'd like to see how I would have reacted. I'm not going to tell you how I would have reacted because I can't say it without seeing it, right, and being there physically. But what I can say, talking about this whole thing, is that mental
So wait,
crisis team.
let's stay there because this is a real talk moment.
Yeah.
If you tell me honestly, from being a law enforcement, because I've heard law enforcement officers say the dumbest shit to me, that they, like, when it comes to law enforcement, I've heard law enforcement officers kind of put the law enforcement team family ahead of their personal family. And I'm talking about, there's certain things that cause, checks and balances. But I'm trying to say, like, honestly, like, if, like you said, what you just said, like, honestly, God forbid, okay, your son is about to get cuffed, and you see officers start slamming them off the walls. You honestly gonna be like, okay, cool down, Junie. You know what I'm saying?
Now, yeah, there's a difference between, yes, there's a certain level that would get any one of us involved, right? Like if it's my kid jumps up and goes at the officer, and they fall to the floor and they cuff him. I don't know if I move at all. If they start bouncing his head off the floor, I don't know I could stay still either.
And that's what I'm trying to find out exactly.
Or if I'm actually smart enough at that moment, hopefully, it's not doing anything, yelling at the officer, grabbing my phone, and videotaping and calling 911 again because I'm getting someone else. That cop's going to get locked up, right? Like, I'm not going to let him assault my kid. So but I physically can't tell you.
Yeah, because you don't know, because it didn't happen.
In an emotional moment, you can't say how anybody's going to react. And if anybody says they can, they're lying.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, listen, the bottom line is, like I said, that situation, God forbid it never happened with my aunt, that law enforcement would have, at 6 years old, I wouldn't even know what I would have been doing or things of that magnitude. I do know that I never forget one time when I was working for the mayor's office, and I showed my job ID, and I got pulled over in front of my house. And this officer, I come to find out who he was later. And I come to find out who his partner was later, and I love his partner to this day. I won't mention his name because he might still be working, or he might be retired, but he's somebody that I really, really like. And the dude, I was like, yeah, I work for the mayor's office, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, so whatever, it doesn't make a difference. And he wrote me a ticket for double parking. And then I was just saying to myself, like, yo, if I become a police officer, I'm not going to be a dick like you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the right answer.
And then, trust me, though, when I was working and I became a law enforcement officer, don't think I wasn't trying to find out who he was if he was still on the job, because I had some things I wanted to say, and then now we want equal playing field. With all that being said, I just want to read some of the questions real quick, and we keep our thought process. Pinky said, "And there any plan?" Okay, she said, "Great point, Kevin. The follow up is important, and we will probably save a whole lot of lives, especially in our Black and Brown communities." I can fairly say that I think that might happen, but who's the follow up? You know what I'm saying?
Well, but that's what I'm saying. It should be a same thing as the domestic violence officer. There should be a mental crisis officer, or whatever the term we're going to use, right? We can't call them an EDP cop; it just doesn't work anymore. But it's the cops with the mental health professional. I think they got to respond. Look, we could say this: the city of New York, we've heard a lot of it the last few years, put $1 billion into mental health, and there's a lot of people scratch their heads going, "What are we doing with the money?" Well, here's what we could do with the money, right? Let's bring in a couple of mental health professionals to work with cops, respond to these jobs, and follow up with it. Let's go afterwards. Let's go meet them. Let's go talk to them. Let's show up at their houses a couple of times a week. Let's meet their families. Find out why they're in crisis. Find out what then we got to know what city services are out there and state services.
So you're talking about different steps after. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10.
This is a follow-up. This is a whole, And the point of following up is
this is a case. This is a
yeah,
case.
you own it. You own this. You know, and the way it might work is initially maybe, you know, the mental health crisis team is one assigned to the 2832 and 26 or 25, and they work all those precincts. Some areas will have to, they come, and I agree with you, out of the borough, but you know, some areas may have more than others, and you have to put numbers accordingly. And I don't know what the numbers are.
We're talking statistics now. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
but you got to follow through. You got to be. They said, you know, the incident happens. Great, cops respond. Stuff's done. Person's brought to Harlem Hospital Psych Center. Happens all the time. Sure, there is somebody tonight. No, I guarantee you, there is somebody tonight being brought to the Psych Center, right, in handcuffs. In New York City, there are multiple people every night being brought in handcuffs. Every single night, there are multiple people. Nobody follows up with them. That would be this team's job. Follow up, meet them at the hospital, right? Maybe they don't make it into fast enough to the job, and the cops got them in the ambulance. Everything was beautiful, smooth. They were in the hospital. Follow them up. Go to the hospital. Talk to the doctors. Come back in the morning. Talk to them again. Go to the person's home. Find who's responsible for them. Create a little dossier on them. Learn about them. Make sure city services are supposed to be there. Show up there, and they're dealing with them. Make sure that their family knows who they are. Sometimes these people, you know, we can have people who are destitute and homeless where their family doesn't even know they're in New York City, right? Their family lives in Alabama, and their nephew is sitting in New York City, you know, living on the street. Make sure their family knows. Let's learn about them. Can we help all of them? No. There will still be people who we just can't fix. But we can fix. I'm into percentages. Can we fix a percentage of them? Yes. Can we help a percentage? Absolutely. The other end of it is those cops going to these jobs and learning about these people are going to become smarter at dealing with emotionally disturbed people. So when they're a year into this, 2 years into this, they're a smarter cop. When they show up on a 911 job for a new emotionally disturbed person, they have a different mentality of dealing with it. And they should be teaching the cops on the street as well. New tactics, new things. Because they said we bucket them all. We have one category, EDP. And that is from the guy having a bad day to the person who is, you know, completely schizophrenic. There is no scale for us. They're all EDPs. Right? Have you ever heard it called anything else?
I think the EDP, like you said, because a man having an argument after, I'm just using this scenario, and I see everybody that's chiming in. I'm going to say something. I'm going to read your statements and comments. It's like you said, a person just lost his job and or found his wife cheating on him, and now he's spazzing out in the house. And also, do we categorize him as an EDP? I mean, you know, or is there some kind of other sympathetic ideology? Like the one thing is, from a law enforcement standpoint, where because you sounding like Kevin, I don't want your friends out there to get mad at you. You sound a little liberalish. Yeah.
I told you, Bill. I'm not. I don't. I consider myself more right than left, but yes. I'm more into solutions, right? Like let's just try to both sides of everything, and people who work both ends of it need to talk when you're trying to figure things out. I'm just trying to look for solutions. It's not. Well, you know, this isn't socialism. It isn't liberalism.
Real Talk Chronicles, yeah. And that's why I sit here and I talk to you every Wednesday, because I appreciate that aspect. And it was so funny. I was having a conversation, and you know, somebody said it's great that you and Kevin and you chop it up like that, because he says there's different perspectives sometimes depending on what the scenario is. But then he says, you know, it's good viewpoints, you know. Let me just read something that Pinky said about that. She said, would it make sense to send officers not in uniform, plain clothes, because we don't know their triggers? That's something that I think you kind of mentioned earlier too, right?
You know, I think the crisis team, the cops, maybe they wear community affairs kind of colors. I think that's fair.
Well, yeah, not so much not being in uniform, but having some uniform. Kind of paraphernalia. Some kind of paraphernalia.
Whatever. I can go a lot of ways on that one, but I think the community affairs jacket, that light blue, to signify
softness. Yeah, yeah.
we're a little different.
She said, Pinky said, mental crisis team, is that everywhere in New York or just in your county, Kevin?
It's my county. My county started that one, so it's not. I don't know other counties that have it in New York State. I know other police departments that do this throughout the country. It is, I think, the way to go. We've ignored this class of people, and we all know it's out there, right? We see it every day on the news. Somebody loses goes through a mental crisis and punches somebody on the train or pushes them. Like, these assaults happen daily, and some of them are become murders. And every neighborhood has their people, right? I remember, on 125th Street, 8th Avenue was the woman Lucy was always over there, right? Like there is, every neighborhood has their people, and then you have people who come through, right? And there's others. And so, like, the one that you have in the neighborhood, the cop sees all the time, you kind of know that person. You know how to deal with it. I still look. It's 20-something years. I still remember her name, right? But she's the only one I have in my head I can think of. We dealt with her better than other EDPs because we knew her. And so when she went through a real crisis moment, we could talk to her, and she saw faces she saw before talking to her. And that's a different reaction for somebody going through a crisis. If Bill, if I show up to you when you're having a bad moment, and you're having that moment when you're smashing things in your house, there's a difference when you see my face because you know me than some other, white dude walking through your front door, right? Like, it's just a different, you're going to react different to me. So Lucy would react different to us because she knew us. Well, that's the rest of them.
Well, remember when in a lot, and when we work in Kev, when Mitch Green used to deal with the drugs and he would spaz out on 116th Street. The bottom line is, I think different officers escalated him, and different officers was able to de-escalate him.
Well, when he was on PCP, that's a different animal. Like,
but the thing is, on PCP, and you're telling Mitch Green's, put your hands behind your back and you grab him. He's a boxer. He's going to defend himself more than Mitch. Mitch, come on, Mitch. You know what I'm saying? See, and what I think is missing that will never be solved is personalities.
Yep.
Because the bottom line is, somebody sees you, they're going to think of the Red Devil. Just because you don't solve it my way doesn't make you bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, you don't get extra credit for having a personality, and you don't get extra credit for being black, or extra credit for getting white or being white. You don't get an extra credit for things like that, because the bottom line is, it is what it is. And I mean, I give a perfect example. I worked with Paulie, white officer, and I never forget one time we went to a job and dude kind of flipped off, and I was like, "Yo, my man, I'm not him. I'm not a white officer. I'll bust you in your mouth." You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, who are you talking to? Like, yo, I could, but Paulie and I had that relationship, like you and I had that relationship with work. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if you touch somebody, I know he deserved to be touched because I understood the character of the person that I was working with. Because me, and I'm sure just like you, there's a certain level of integrity. And what's so funny with Paulie and I, when we started working together, we asked each other, why are we working with each other? And we said, well, first, tactically, we felt we was the most tactical persons left to work with. We were nice enough. We thought we were nice people. And we thought, you know what I'm saying, that we would get along. Mm-hmm. And it was an excellent relationship when we did 8 Henry. And it was cool. I mean, like, so I enjoyed my relationship working with P, and I'm sure he enjoyed, and like, it developed a friendship to the point where, the last time I spoke to him, it was like, shits and giggles, and reminiscing of things in the past. Yeah. I wish, not that I wish we would talk more, but I don't talk to him, some of the closest partners I've had. So it doesn't make a difference in that aspect. Stephanie said, I don't know if you saw this, Kevin. I did see it, Stephanie. I don't know if you sent it to me or somebody else did. She says, how do you guys think about how the police should have reacted with the 9-year-old that they pepper sprayed. Did you see that, Kevin, or did I send that to you?
I don't recall seeing that. And I would be hard pressed to say there's a scenario where I would have pepper sprayed a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Did the 9-year-old have a weapon?
No.
There's not a scenario I would pepper spray. I can't see me pepper spraying a 9-year-old.
Now, Steph, help me out with this.
I'm pulling up the video.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, as he does that, everybody. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host Kevin Branzetti. Happy Black History Month to everybody. Appreciate you all. Well, history is history, and it's our history, and it's not just a month. It's a lifetime, because some people try to shun it, but we will definitely do that. I'm trying to do some segments in regards to Black History Month. It has not worked in my favor yet, everybody, but please stand by. You know, working behind the scenes, I think honestly the hardest part of doing Real Talk Chronicles is setting up good content for you all to listen to and have, and it really, and thanks to Pastor Graves for being an instrumental part. You know, like I said, recently we had Borough President Eric Adams running for mayoral candidate. He's a mayoral candidate. He will be back again on the 9th next week. And FYI, he wanted to come back. So that was a beautiful thing. He's only going to be back for a half an hour. It's a 5 o'clock special edition segment of Real Talk Chronicles. Last night, Monday, we had district attorney candidate Alvin Bragg, and that was an interesting conversation that we had. In lieu of certain things, I think he made some good points. I think he's more than qualified to handle his business if he becomes elected. I think who I am. I will. If you ask me my personal opinion, I will tell you what I think of people. But until then, from the journalistic aspect of what I'm doing now, verbally endorse anybody. But if you ask me, I'll tell you what I feel. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't ask me, then I keep it moving, because I want everybody to come on this show and have a fair time to express who they are and what they do. We've had William Anthony Allen. He's running for city council. I'm also going to have Billy Council on eventually one day. One day I'm going to try to. I know Tony Herbert is out of Brooklyn. I want to have him back on. I know Sammy Ravello, somebody I worked with. He's running for Bronx Borough President. I want to have him on, and I want all these people to have a opportunity. And they've been on my show before, but now they've stepped up. I want to have Latima Brown. She's running for city council in the Bronx. And if you have somebody that you have a avenue to that I don't, please, and they want to come on and talk. I mean, I don't want to talk about anybody talking about baking cookies and shit, and or talking about pyramid games. That's not what I'm about right now. Real talk is about thought provocative stuff like COVID, politics, life. This is what I'm about right now. We can always talk about anything else that you want to talk about it. Shout out to Cora in the building. So Stephanie, I saw the video. We're going to refresh it. We're going to definitely come back and converse about that more and often. But what I saw was an upset child. There's no reason for me.
They pepper spray the kid who was already cuffed?
Yeah.
Fire.
Exactly.
I got no.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that's proper. If that we were talking earlier about how you would react if that's your kid.
Yeah, and you know what's
is that a big 9-year-old? Yes, she's a big 9-year-old, but not monster. Yeah. She's cuffed, and 19. If you're cuffed in the back of the car, you shouldn't be pepper sprayed.
Exactly. Shout out to Wilson in the building. Wilson, former co-worker, former neighborhood person, brother. We went to grammar school together. Yes, definitely that was a good idea. We talked about training the cops and the different tours. We spoke about that earlier. And even talking about EDPs, Wilson, I think that might be a good idea going forward. So anybody that gets in office, I will try to throw, Kevin and I will try to throw that in their ear. Pinky said, I love that the idea, Kevin. I was just going to say, own it. Maybe the CPOP officer could take that on. Each one teach one, each one reach one. Definitely. Yeah, you definitely did. I, yeah, exactly, Wilson. He definitely was. I was scared to death. Had to handle him on my own. Oh wow. Good
Yeah.
evening, Collins. How are you?
Those are all
Um,
Mitch Green related
yeah,
comments.
exactly.
Mitch
You
Green was
definitely.
somebody, several cops. I would never had the pleasure of having to deal with him on PCP, but several cops did. And to fight a man of that stature on you're not winning, right? Like if Bill and I walked up to Mitch Green back then, and we tried to put him in cuffs, he'd kick the crap out of the two of us, and we'd be lucky to live.
Let me tell
And
you
then
something,
him on
everybody.
PCP, we'd shoot him 10 times, and he'd still kick our ass, and
Let me tell
live.
you something, everybody. Mitch Green was a very stout man at 6'5", easy. Boxer. He is known for fighting Mike Tyson in front of Dapper Dans. He's known for fighting, but he's also known in the Harlem community for being on drugs. I don't know if Mitch Green is still alive or deceased now, but
Nicest guy you meet when he's not high. You come into the precinct, say hello to everybody, shake your hands. But he's a professional boxer, a professional heavyweight, and a major one at that time.
yeah,
It's not a fair fight.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, Kevin, let me ask you a question. Not to shift, I'm gonna shift the gears. We're coming to find out more and more people, civil servants have stormed the Capitol. What's your take on that?
If you broke into the Capitol, you get locked up.
Right,
If
right.
you're out on the streets protesting, fine. If you're out in the streets protesting and you damage property, you should be treated the way any other protester who damaged property gets treated.
I
Right?
put up a post right now, and uh, 45 had Trump. I'm sorry, I might as well say his name. Had put up made a bill talking about anybody doing something, doing protesting, and he was aiming at Black Lives Matter, but it was a protesting bill. I don't know if I sent it to you or not or whatever. And they should get like 10 years federal, whatever, whatever. But it seems like now it might come back to haunt all the people that was protesting
Well,
in lieu of him.
listen, they're getting locked up. There are more people getting locked up for that every day. I'll put the link out again in a little bit if you want to check the stats on the arrest. The Counter Extremism Project at George Washington University tracks all extremist arrests, and this qualifies. So they have every arrest in there. How many? What for? You want to read the indictments against them? It's all there. But
You had said something one time. Do you feel there's a difference between a violent extremist and an extremist?
that one word, Bill, violent. You're
So
allowed to be an extremist. You're allowed to be an ass in this world, right? Like you're allowed to think you're superior. Your people are superior. One religion's better than another. You're allowed to think, you can be a hardcore left, hardcore right. You're allowed to be an ass. You're not allowed to be a violent ass.
okay, let me ask you a question. Do you think being an ass can lead you to be a violent ass?
Of course. Yep.
Okay.
And times and things going on out there, and there is so much out there that feeds into this. It's tough. There are a lot of violent asses come from asses. That's where they hide. So my job for a long time has been to try to find violent extremists, and you have to look in the places extremists talk to find them.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think that extremists have gotten on this job as law enforcement officers?
Yeah, sure they have. There's thousands of us. Of course there is.
Yeah.
And then there are those who later in life became extremists Right? They didn't come on the job as extremists, but I think I've watched people I've known the last couple of years and listened to their conspiracy theories. I knew people who believed in Pizzagate, that Hillary Clinton and others were trapping little girls in a pizzeria in Washington, and and some guy's telling me this who I know, and he's like, "Tell me, but I got it on good authority." I'm like, "You're effing nuts." I'm no fan of Hillary Clinton, but she's not a pedophile.
Right.
And if you call it you don't even realize how nutty you are. If you check out Vice News, they did a great 3-part series just the last week or two on QAnon,
Yes.
which is like conspiracy theorist on steroids. It's interesting to see how many people just fell into, and just normal people. It's not, without going down the rabbit hole too far with this, but QAnon, which believes in this, Pizzagate was their thing, right? They are the ones who released that information.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of people in this country who were just completely normal, who fell into this and believe QAnon, right? Then there's members of Congress. There's a couple of them who believe in QAnon.
So
right?
wait,
there's one being they're trying to censure right now.
Hold on for a second. When you say completely normal and you feel they fell into it, now I'm not disputing you. I'm just asking you, give your thought process on that, because it's so funny. Like I spoke to a friend last night. When I say spoke, via telecommunications, they put up a post about Joe Biden's son when he used to get high and he was an addict. And I asked him what was the meaning of that. And they was like, "Oh," I said, he's recovering now and he's doing all right. They was like, "Yeah, but he said that he's proud of his son." I said, "Well, who are you to say?" Now they're a Trump supporter, so I was like, "Well, who are you to say that he can't be proud of his son because he's recovering?" Like, you judge a jury.
You should be more proud. But
the thing was no. So go ahead.
But that's this cherry picking of like that same guy. If that was Trump's son, wouldn't have said that. But somebody on the left, if that was Trump's son, would have bashed his son for being a former drug addict. We do that based on political beliefs, not on what the reality is. It's I watch people now on the right screaming that Biden is signing all these executive orders. And 4 years ago, I watched everybody on the left screaming that Trump was signing all these executive orders. I'm against executive orders, right? Like Congress makes laws, not presidents. You're either, to me, you're for or against these things. You can't, we've fallen into this trap of, we base our answers on our political beliefs. Not if a fact was switched, like I said, if it was Trump's kid instead of Biden's kid, that guy never would have posted it. But somebody else would have posted it on the left, would have bashed Trump's kid for being a drug addict and made fun of Trump. Are you proud of your son? Somebody on the left would have done that.
Absolutely.
That's what we do.
Yeah, I mean, factual.
And it gets us nowhere.
No, factual. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. And we're just talking real talk, and that's a beautiful thing. Real talk with Kevin Branzetti. Thank you, Pinky. Yeah, he's still alive and he's 64. Yeah, the last time I saw Mitch, we were kind of in the same place. I mean, it was a good thing, Mitch was like, "Yo, what up?" I was like, "Hey, what's up?" Not that he knew me from being law enforcement, just being a Harlem cat. Mark said, the choice to follow the whims of a man over their country and the Constitution they are sworn to protect. Whatever karma has in store for them, they deserve that fate. What do you think about what he said?
Yeah. Look, like I said, if you storm the Capitol, that's a line in the sand for me. That's not crossable. Not crossable. You broke into the Capitol. That is the head of our government. Go to jail.
So, let me ask you a question. Are you in the mindset that they broke the law? So, because I think and correct me if I'm wrong. This is not good or bad or different. It doesn't make a difference to me. I just want clarity for me and the listeners. You are, if you break the law, you deserve to get locked up, no matter who you are, right? I
Yeah,
think is that fair to say? Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that. So even if like you didn't have problems with Black Lives Matter protesting, you didn't have problems with uh these people protesting, whomever they are, but as long as they don't break anybody doesn't break laws, you're fine.
yeah. And it depends on the level of the law too. Should be your punishment, right? Like if you're at a protest and you're blocking traffic, you're getting locked up for disorderly conduct. That arrest to me disappears after a period of time. Like there's no. You set a building on fire, I got an issue with you, right? You somebody smashes the window and you decide to take opportunity and go in there and steal it. You get locked up. Like I got no,
Yeah.
And then throwing Molotov cocktails at cop cars. You got to go to jail for a long time.
Yeah.
Breaking into the Capitol, lock them up. Those who went there in flex cuffs,
so let me ask you a question.
Go to jail longer.
Let me ask you a question. And I've had people say this to me, like, what did you see? What did you deem as worse, if we can equate this word to storming the Capitol, try to change democracy, or
that's the worst building you could storm, right?
Or break a glass window and loot some clothes.
Well, that's clearly the difference. There's no question that Capitol is worse. Ransacking and taking over a police precinct is up there as well, right? Like that's happened. Like those people, I kind of wonder if they should have allowed that to happen. The mayor said let it have it. But we talked about this too. Would we have been comfortable with the cops inside there shooting people as they got in? That's a real tough one. And I would say that a lot of people would not be comfortable with that. Was I comfortable with the person getting shot in the Capitol? Yeah. As long as that officer was shooting that person because that was a line they couldn't let them cross. And the Capitol Police's job is
the Capitol is a place. When those officers took that assignment, their assignment was to protect the people in the Capitol and protect the Capitol. So
their assignment's Congress. They are Congress's. They're the Secret Service, uniformed Secret Service for Congress. So they travel with Nancy Pelosi, right? Like they go back to her home with her. They're depending upon what level you are within your stature. So Pelosi gets a team. Their job is to protect the lives of members of Congress. And I will keep going back to that. They did a spectacular job that day because not a single member of Congress was hurt. And my guess is, we haven't gotten the full report on it, that cop who shot, that was a line that if those people would have got through, there was members of Congress there. So they shot him.
Let me ask you a question, Kevin. You think if you was working, think you would have shot your gun, Brian?
If one never knows, right? You're saying one, I never shot my gun working. And I am very happy and proud of that. I am an anti-death penalty guy, right? Like I would have an easier time shooting my gun to protect you than to protect myself. If that,
I understand, it makes sense. That it makes sense from a law enforcement standpoint. But what I'm trying to say is that you like everybody has given. I don't know the officer Eugene. I think his name. I forgot his whole name. Accolades for how he was able to shift the crowd from the chambers and commend him for thinking on his feet. But I've also told people that a lot of times we were taught not to use our gun in certain eras of our lives. Like Kevin, we've seen more shootings. Let me tell you something. When we were working, I don't remember a lot of law enforcement shootings. You know what I'm saying? Now, wait a minute. Stay with me. But what I do remember is a lot of putting foot to ass. You know what I'm saying? Like we'll pound up on a rabbit. I say all that to say that these new officers have come out today and they're shooting people and they're saying they're justifying being scared. There was no such. We could have never used that word, Kevin. There's no
Fear for
way.
your life. I would never. Well, one, I would never use the word scared, but I get it. Right? You're in fear for your life, or somebody else's. You can use it. Fine.
But Kevin, what I'm saying, unarmed men,
Yeah.
we have never been able to articulate shooting an unarmed man. But today's society, today's officer can use that and say, I was in fear for my life.
I can't. I don't know the stats of how many people were shot in the 60s and 70s, right? And even the 80s. We see more of it today because it's available more. Bill, when you grew up, there was the 6 o'clock news. And that was it. That was it. And
6
and
11
covered,
and 11 I was asleep. Exactly.
And that covered just our general area. The 6 o'clock news did not report on a cop shooting a guy in Detroit. Didn't. It had an hour. So there could have been plenty. There could have been more. I don't know.
Well, I'm not disputing that with you. What I'm disputing is the fact that we've been told years ago by people of color that the man had done unjust. And I say the man, and people of color has said, about law enforcement, the man has done unjust to the people of color. And we all heard about the throwaway guns. That's a real law enforcement terminology, right? And people for years have said officers have done unjustly things to people of color. Now, back then, people was like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, or you don't have proof." Now we have video footage of it, and people are still saying, "Oh, well, he should have did this and did that." So what I'm saying, I'm equating this to the Capitol now. The fact that any one of those officers, correct me if I'm wrong, and correct me if you disagree with them, any officer with that mob approaching them had the right to shoot. You agree with that?
No.
Why?
No, because you're saying any officer. Like
I'm talking about in the Capitol, on January 6th. Their job is to protect that establishment.
There's potential. The job is to protect the people. It's the people. Right. And I am sure they like anybody else, right? Like they got they're cops, right? They get marching orders. They get the rules of the engagement for that day. They get the fact that they weren't wearing riot gear wasn't the cops' fault. That's executives' fault, right? Like you and I never decided to wear riot gear. I never went to the precinct that said today's a helmet day, and I'm wearing my helmet out on the street.
But they knew they were coming though.
They don't come, and that's why the sergeant at arms and the head of the police department are gone. They were gone instantly. Right, sergeant at arms is the head of security for the Capitol itself, and the head of Capitol Police, both gone. They were wrong, right? And it's unfortunate. I don't know. None of us were in those inside stories. But going back to it, the cops there have their marching orders, and they know what the line is, right? And can you shoot somebody because they're going to break in and ruin a piece of property? If it's the archives of the Capitol, yeah, I'd say so. But if, like I said, if it was for the members of Congress, yep, to protect them, they were not letting that crowd in there. No way, no how, until Congress was moved.
Hold on for a second. Let me interject. The fact that they stormed the Capitol to get at the people in the Capitol justifies them shooting the people coming in the Capitol. Right?
Well,
I'm just going off what you just said.
No, but I'm not saying they're going at you.
Don't stumble now. I got you.
No, I'm not stumbling now. You don't. It's not stumbling. It's.
It's your birthday.
It's.
I'm just going off of what you just said. You just said
I'm going to explain it. Their job is to protect the people. Do you think the cops knew what the mindset of that mob was? That the mob was coming to kill members of Congress or destroy the building?
Who knows?
Well, then that's what I'm saying. That's the thing. If you just can't shoot them for entering. Now, for protecting the people in there, absolutely.
But say with me now. They didn't just enter. They had things in their hands. They had weapons in their hands.
Yeah, well, ones with weapons are different. We're talking about different animals. And like I said,
but what I'm trying to say is that this is what
you told me. Your first question was they could shoot anybody, like enter. No, really, it's the scenario.
Okay.
Listen, to me, the cops did spectacular.
You can't just shoot grandma coming in there at 70 years old. And I'm just using this, I'm being facetious, but grandma coming in at 70 years old, you can't shoot her because she's a part of the party. But what I feel that you definitely can shoot if you got a mob of people with bricks and stones and all kind of things in their hand coming towards me. I am saying this on my podcast. Bill Foster would have put some caps in some asses. You know what I'm saying? Now, listen, I commend Eugene for diverting and taking him another way. He pushed him. He swung at him. He did everything possible not to do physically force. He still to this day does not know. You and I don't know what would have happened when he retreated so far, and then he was able to get around fellow officers. But then no officer really put foot to ass in that situation. You know, the more confrontation was outside. When we look at what happened inside, you had officers talking about, please, can you put your foot down off the table and, taking pictures and nonsense. Yo, let me tell you something. It was the worst thing I've ever seen in officers upholding the law. That was
their marching orders? I want to know their marching orders.
Well, I would have wanted their marching orders too, because the bottom line is, I know for a fact if I would have went to the Capitol 3 weeks ago for this, and I tried to get in there with a pocket knife, I would have had a problem. I see you, Courtney. Courtney said one brave officer did shoot. He said, dude, they were breaking in to kill folks. He said, dude, dude was a clown. Exactly. Let me read something. Pinky said, she said, January 6th was the all black folks. They would be dead right now. We all know that equality amongst races. I'm sorry, let me put my glasses on. Equality amongst races. What are your thoughts? Do you think we can even get there? I see you, Colin. I see I'm gonna reply to your question too, but I'm going glasses. Kevin, gonna help me out on those unless you got yours.
I took mine off.
All right, so let me go now. Oh shit. Okay, there we go. I'm rocking and rolling now, everybody. Okay, January 6th. If that was all black folks, they would be dead right now. We all know that. Equality amongst race. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we ever get there? I definitely don't think we will ever get there.
I think we get closer as the years go by, but it's a long way to go.
Okay.
You made a statement before, Bill, that anybody coming at and trying to push their way through with bricks or anything in their hands, they should have been shot.
Busting caps.
Is that your theory for all protests? If you're trying to cross police line, if you're at the front of that police line and they're trying to push through and they have weapons, so the cops should start popping them?
Well, first, see, you're asking a general question with a broad. You're asking a.
That's what you hit me with. General question with a broad stroke. I'm returning the favor.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But let me say this in lieu of that. Out in the street, it's totally different. Now, if we're going to talk about violence versus a law enforcement, brick versus me gets gun versus you, right?
Yep.
Okay. You are storming a place to hurt people, right? Because that's the mindset. There is no reason for anybody to storm the Capitol
or any building.
Any building, but especially the Capitol.
Especially Capitol. Capitol's the top of the list.
There's no reason.
The only thing that can beat the Capitol is like an elementary school.
Exactly.
With kids inside, right? Like, because I'm shooting everybody trying to get in.
You storming that place where you have signs of hang Pence, hurt Nancy Pelosi, all these things that are already being visualized before you get in. I'm no fool. If I'm working, I see it. So that's why when that officer shot that white lady, that military lady, he deserved to pop her in her ass. And I don't have any sympathy for her. And everybody else. No, I'm not saying you do. I'm not saying you do. But you see, everybody else fell back and was like, "Yo, they ain't had no problems with."
They ain't playing, and it worked.
So that's why I'm saying if Eugene and I apologize to him for not knowing his last name. If he would have been able, if he would have shot dude that he kept pushing back in the front, I'm sure everybody would have said, "I don't want any of them hot ones in my ass too."
Yep.
And that's what I'm saying. When I saw, let me tell you something. If I'm the supervisor, half of those officers, or majority of all of them, they all assigned. They watching a swamp water at the seashore. But let me tell you something. You cannot tell me the stance that they took was professional, and there isn't any reason you can tell me that any of them acted within. When I saw your video of an officer and he goes talk to the guy wearing the barbaric outfits and they're in the congressional thing, and he's like, "Can you please get your foot off the table?" And he's like, "I'm here, standing here for you guys not to destroy what's inside." And they're like, "Yo, can you take pictures of us?" And the dude is like, "No, I can't do that." Yo, my man, check this out. You're getting shipped. You're watching like seagulls fly through the seashore. I I thought it was for some officers, and this is what I've always said, Kev. The reason why a lot of people of color have problems with officers because we see how there isn't any equality. That was 101 Bill Foster shit right there. They showed equality. Those officers did not engage with those individuals like they were supposed to. Like everybody is saying, and you correct me if I'm wrong right now, and I'm asking you a specific question. If those were black people storming that place, you telling me that you don't think there would be any dead people or the only because the only dead people are law enforcement. You telling me you don't think there would be any dead people during that time?
Well, you can't say that. I mean, because
No, I'm not
it's
asking you that.
hypothetical, and I hate hypothetical, Bill. I just
Keep talking for a second. Keep talking. Go ahead. Yeah.
we lost Bill. I don't like the hypothetical, but I do want to get you on the description of what you gave there, and I'll still keep going back to no member of Congress was hurt, so the Capitol Police did their job and used the least amount of force that was necessary to get the crowd away from them. We can fight and go with a hypothetical. If they were black protesters, would have been different. Bill, you said because they had signs saying, "Let's hang Nancy Pelosi, let's kill Pence, let's kill this one," that the cops should have known their mentality and been more physical and aggressive with them. So at anti-police rallies where people have signs saying "kill pigs" and they push forward, should I start shooting them? Because they're saying they're going to kill me.
Yeah, but we're talking about? You're talking about,
it's a tough line.
Now you're trying to equate a sign outside in the street where I got a bunch of cops backing me.
Well, they took a precinct. We'll go with that one. They took a police precinct. A anti-police protest where I'm sure there were signs about kill police and chants about kill police. They took a police precinct. Nobody was shot.
Okay.
I disagree with it. I don't think we should have, and I think you disagreed with it too. We never should have.
I can't apologize for what didn't happen.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is it's hard to say what would happen if the color was different. Do I believe there's racial disparities? Hell yeah, I'm not an idiot.
Okay,
right? But I just can't say. I'm not going to say the cops at the Capitol, without knowing anything about them or how they work, would have been racist and killed people because of their color. I'm not going to say it.
Kevin, they took selfies. They took selfies with them.
There's a couple of cops. There's bad cops there. And look, the difference, what's going on there is it's on video. Like I said, the amount of arrests being made out of this is tremendous. Everybody in there that they can identify is going to jail. They're not having interviews and discussing what went on. They're locking them up every day since the 6th. People are being arrested. The FBI across the country are hunting down everybody they can find and locking them up. There's not much more I can ask for. They're locking them up. We're not ignoring it. We didn't let it slide. We were horrified by it. it happened. Thankfully, a lot of these morons were stupid enough to have their faces uncovered because they really thought they were going to win. And now when they went back home, they're all ducking, but their friends and family are giving them up one after the other.
Okay, yeah, that's crazy.
Every one of them's being hunted down. So to me, it's being dealt with properly.
Okay, I mean, it's fair to say that they are being prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and we hope that we really do. I think it was a shame that people would have the ideology that they could change democracy, which is beyond something that I don't think you, I, or anybody else. I don't care if you 8 to 80, you ever thought that you was going to see somebody try to change democracy.
Yeah.
Let me read some of these comments. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. This is just Real Talk Wednesdays with Kevin Branzetti. Mark said they chose to follow. Oh, okay, no. He said, if you guys get a chance, what's your perspective on the female who asked to go to Mexico because it was a paid vacation? Seriously, she asked the judge, could she go out of the state while under federal investigation? I don't know. Did you ever hear anything about that, Kev?
I saw like a little headline on it. I didn't read it. Like, look, you're out. You had a trip planned. She's not the first idiot in this country to ask if that's okay. She won't be the last. I in the grand scheme, to me, that's a minor one.
I don't know. The first, I don't even know what she was on, but that's a lot of longitude and latitude for. And Mark, is she a white woman or she's a woman of color? Because I mean, if she's
she was a white woman, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let me say. All right. Collins said she knew that she was white privileged. That's why she would ask the court to go on vacation out of the country while on federal investigation. Okay, thank you, Collins, for giving me that insight on that. Pinky said January 6th, if that was all black folks, they would be dead right now. We all know that. Equality among races. What are your thoughts? Do you think we ever get there? Okay, I think we talked about that. Colin said they didn't just enter, it was breaking and entering. You should shoot. Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's a tough stance to say you should just shoot. It is. And it's a lot to ask a cop to,
Well, Kevin, let me ask you a question.
To kill somebody, right?
But Kevin, let me ask you a question. We've seen people of color, and you sent me something one time. We talked about it. We've seen, I'm gonna be fair. We've seen white people, right? You sent me a video of a white man getting shot, and I asked you, what was that for? You was like, oh, I just want to show you that, there's white people that get shot unarmed. I felt that was death by suicide. Just
it was
for transparency.
It's just rare. It's rare we see them, the videos shown the white ones getting shot.
So the thing is, now we're seeing people where a lot of people feel like there isn't reason for a person of color to get shot, and I'll say even that white man to get shot. But the fact of it is, here's a reason. Here's a reason for people to get shot. Like,
but we shouldn't be asking for more. Right? I'm with you, Bill. Like, there are plenty of videos and plenty of times where a black man got shot and he shouldn't have been shot. There's a black man who got his neck stomped on until he died, and it shouldn't have happened. I'm against that, and I want to stop that and weed out those who do it. I don't want to add more shootings and say, well, the only way to make this fair is we need to shoot more. Cops need to start shooting more white people. No, we don't need to even out the numbers. We need to fix it. Like,
well, first and foremost, we could never equal out the numbers, and true to be whole, we definitely need to fix it. So I'm in total agreement with you. But the bottom line is, as we should never try to equalize something, we need to also never forget why we're trying to equalize something.
Agreed.
So I say all that to say that Mark says, Kevin, actually both of you guys, what's your take on the officers who committed suicide? And one officer pleads to the crowd saying, I have a family. I'm one of you. The same officer had spiderweb tattoos on the elbows and the neck. It's been a while for me, but I remember those tattoos meaning involvement in certain gangs. Do you guys spend time studying gangs? What's your take on that? I'll let you go first if you want to.
So there was more than one cop there making a plea with people. There was one cop who was being crushed, right, and making a plea with people. So pleading with people I have no issue with to stop. If he's pleading with them and saying, I'm one of you, if that's what he is, believe me, he's going to get fired. No cop within that department is going to survive who has extremist views. They're not. It would be Biden, be fine. They're hired by Congress.
So wait a minute. Are you saying that all these details, Secret Service,
It's different.
Capitol Police? So you're saying Capitol Police are hired by Nancy Pelosi?
I'm saying Nancy Pelosi is the highest ranking member of Congress, and that's who runs the Capitol Police. It's Congress. So Capitol Police is not the DC police. DC police are separate.
I know that. So what are we saying when New York a police officer does something? We blame the commissioner? Is that I'm trying to find out?
I'm saying what I'm saying is we're talking about some people there. This guy with the tattoos. And I don't know what those tattoos are, and could they mean something? That I'm saying videos are out on a lot of cops there. Those videos are going to be reviewed. Those cops are going to be reviewed. If they're determined that they're extremists, they're white supremacists, they're getting fired. They're not going to survive. This is too big of an incident. You're not going to survive it. So those cops who are on the side of people storming the Capitol, and if there's cops who were seen on video helping the people storming the Capitol, they're going to get fired. Is what I'm getting at. This is not that kind of department. They're not going to protect them. They're going to be done. Understood.
Let's see what else is. See, Marks would have said that would have never happened at the embassy. Never. Once the crowd breached the lines, bodies would have been dropping at the embassy.
Yeah, embassies are different overseas, right? We would not allow that to happen in our embassy in Iraq, right? They were going to shoot people coming in, but that's different, right? But in the end, did we ever give up embassies? Yeah, we've let embassies become overrun. We got everybody out. We let it get overrun, and we lost those properties. That has happened in our history.
Pinky said every black person would have died. They treated those white totally different than Black Lives Matter marches. Unacceptable. Racist mean spirits behavior is being televised. Let me ask you a question. First, do you agree that they would have treated Black Lives Matter different? And then what's your take on that?
Well, show me the Black Lives Matter protests where they were being shot for storming a building or burning. It hasn't happened. So you're telling me that if those were Black Lives Matter protesters who stormed the building, they all would have been shot. I have an issue with that.
Well, first, can we say that is it fair to say that there's no Black Lives Matter ever stormed a building?
People at Black Lives Matter protests have stormed buildings.
You got proof of that, or you just
that was the police precinct in Portland.
Well, wait. Or were they Black Lives Matter, or were they Antifa antagonizers? Because see, this is
that's why I said the phrase "people at Black Lives Matter protests."
Okay.
I chose my words.
Okay, all right. Because I always hear not you, but I just want to make sure that people understand. People have come out and said that they totally know that Black Lives Matter has been infiltrated by Antifa and antagonizers, but Black Lives Matter didn't denounce them. When I've put up countless clips of that. So I say all that to say, now we talk about Portland. I definitely don't think that Black Lives Matter people was part of that. I think it was Antifa and antagonizers. Until you show me somebody from the Black Lives Matter and say that. But it's totally different with this QAnon and Proud Boys at the White House.
But there was protests. So if you look at some of the flyers before the protests that were online, you look at the ones that were for January after the 6th, January 17th. I don't know if you caught this, was the big date. They're supposed to have the protest in all the state capitals. That was by a group that was put out in November by a group that doesn't like Trump. They're an anti-government, anti-Trump, anti-Biden, organization. There are lots of different entities out there that want a part of this.
Gotcha.
It's no different than you have to, when you talk about the Black Lives Matter protests and Antifa and other entities jump in there. Well, the same thing happened at this event, and the same thing has happened at the other protests. There were lots of groups in there, and I even talked to you about this. Like the QAnon was there to storm it, right? There were people, no question. There were pro-Trumpers who were there to storm the Capitol and take it over, no question. There were white supremacists there. There were a whole bunch of organizations there. There were lots of different organizations that were there. The neo-Nazis were there. Neo-Nazis don't like Trump, right? And they don't. If you follow their movement and listen to stuff online, they don't like Trump because neo-Nazis, their main thing is the Jewish people. Trump was a big supporter of Israel. They do not like it. So they loved the incident and would go to any incident to stir up trouble. Right, they want the race war. I'm always a fan. We should give it to them. Put all the neo-Nazis on one side, and you want to fight the rest of us? Have at it. So there are other people that were there, as well. It's a convoluted mess. I'm happy, and I think I said it after the 6th that I didn't expect the inauguration to have any issue. And it was pretty darn quiet, for the most part. I don't know how these groups are going to react over the next few months. They felt Trump let them down, right? They expected Trump to bring in the military and help them take over.
Right.
I don't know where their anger and insanity is going to go next. And that's one of the things that makes me think and scares me a little. But that's my day job.
You think there's going to be a civil war, Kevin?
No.
Okay.
Never.
Right. Colin said, and she was one of the few who on a private jet to the D.C. Oh yeah, about a homegirl that wanted to ask for the pardon. She was talking about her. She thinks she should be pardoned because she was just going to support old boy. Mark said, I don't know, Kevin. Arrests are one thing. What's the charges? Or do you think the charges are going to stick in regards to storming the Capitol?
Absolutely. And like I said, I think there's a different
Mark,
degree of punishment.
I'm just interjecting. They better stick, Mark. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, the FBI is not going door to door across the country looking for these people to lock them up on violation charges, right? They're not. And the arrest started before the inauguration, so before Biden's team even took over. So the Trump FBI executives had people going out and locking them up. They're going to jail. My belief is could there be some people in that who were there for the protest and got carried away and ran inside? Sure, there could be some of those. Sorry, that's kind of my real answer to them. If you can't prove it, the onus is on you. You go to jail. Those with flex cuffs should go to jail for a long time. There were people who really believed they were going to lock up members of Congress. All right. And those people need to go to jail for a long time. I don't want to see them again. Absolutely. That's a line, right? You can't tell me you got carried away and it went out of hand and you went with it when you have a set of flex cuffs on you. I've been at many a protest. Protesters do not carry flex cuffs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. I want to shift our conversation. And please, always, anything you ever want us to talk about, inbox me or Kevin, please. It doesn't make a difference. If it's worth conversation, I'm going to talk about it. Kevin, did you see that thing I sent you? You got something you want to pull up?
I'll show it in a bit when I'm trying to find the arrest stats. I'm sorry. But
Okay.
go ahead.
Kevin is on his stats, everybody. He's doing his thing.
You gonna pull up the stuff on city council and make me more disgusted?
What about that? What do you think of was that something crazy?
Look, they are going to make sure good cops never work again.
Yeah, please tell everybody the insight on that real quick. Just bring up a brief synopsis of what I sent you. And
well, I mean, look, I haven't read through the whole thing.
No, just give a brief synopsis of it, please.
Just put. Look, we created the city created the diaphragm law, which has already scared cops from touching people, and now they're looking to put into it that we're not going to be indemnified anymore. We have a law on the books that, Bill, if you and I were cops and every arrest we were ever a part of, we would have broken that law triple digits, right? Hundreds of times, no question.
I've always said that if I was working today, I would have been fired.
Right? Under that diaphragm law, we would have broken the law 100 times, easy, and any good cop would have. Which would have made us now with the rules they come up with, we're liable for those lawsuits. So since we committed a crime, the lawsuit's easy, and now I'm personally liable. I can't. As a cop today in New York City, you cannot. They're making to a point where you cannot touch people. You can't make an arrest. Because if my choice is I'm going to get, if the person fights me, I'm going to get arrested and then I'm going to lose my home. There are plenty of cops, Bill, and we worked with them who did nothing all day.
Yeah.
And who kind of just skated nicely.
Mm-hmm.
We would have to become those. There's cause and effect on these laws. I get what we're trying to accomplish here. I get we're trying to make cops more responsible for their actions. I'm in. But what city council and government does is, we have this thing of listening to one side, not the other. They didn't talk to good cops and say, okay, if we put this into effect, what would happen to you? Because we'd tell them in a heartbeat, we would not work. We're done.
Right.
You can't make me work in that. And I know, and I've seen people, who will post at some point in this, well, you were sworn to protect. There were a lot of cops. Every one of us was sworn to protect. A good chunk of them didn't, knew how to hide. We would just learn the same. Because I can't work in that. You can't. If you want to weed out bad cops, do more stings, be more, have better challenging an academy, do a better background check. I'm in for all of it. I'm in, cops need to be fired, right? We could probably, fire 10% of any business, and the business would be better, including the police department. But if you're just going to put, you see an incident, we'll put another law on the books. We'll put another law on the books. And I'll keep going back to Minneapolis. No law, diaphragm law, we've changed that. Murder was on the books, and the guy committed murder. So how is a misdemeanor law going to help? Like murder didn't scare the guy, and a new misdemeanor diaphragm law is going to scare him? No. That guy's a psychopath. He killed somebody. But what that misdemeanor law does is it scares me. It scares Bill. And it scares the guys on the street. And the city is going to lose a battle that they don't realize. Right?
Agreed. That's a crazy thing that and I put it on for all those that don't know what Kevin and I are talking about. I put it on my Facebook page, on my Bill Foster Facebook page, and I think the Real Talk Chronicles page about what's the city's idea of going forward, how they would change and tweak hirings of COs of commands or the police commissioners and things of that magnitude, which, or having, community input in things of that magnitude. Not that I don't think the community could have some input in selecting a precinct commander, but what's the criteria? Okay, maybe if you're going into the community board, and I'm just going to use this example. I'm throwing this out there in the universe. You go to the community board, and he pulls the mayor says, okay, community board 10, along with some activists out of the community. I'm thinking about selecting Kevin Branzetti to be the CEO of the 2A precinct. And I'm thinking about selecting Bill Forster to be the CEO of the 3-2 precinct. Here's their record, their rap sheet for their whole career. Kevin Branzetti has
Whatever. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I'm just trying to figure out something that could be something tweaked or Kevin has no one an admonish for disciplinary action, one excessive force, and maybe 3 CCRBs. Bill Forster has 5 CCRBs, 5 excessive forces, and maybe 3 warning admonish. Are they to be held accountable for what they did in 1994 and 95 and nothing since then? Because the honest thing, a lot of times officers, as they go up the ranks, they don't put their hands on officers, on people, only the people that are out there in the street. But the bottom line is, can they get caught up in some things? So I think the question is, do you hold somebody back for something that happened 20 years ago, or do you look in to see who they are? I think it's a very tough call to say who can be what and what can be whom when it comes to selecting COs of precincts. I think there's a lot of nepotism in a lot of things and people getting selected.
100%.
So yeah, go ahead, Kev.
I got cross feelings on it, right? But
Yeah.
But if I'm the police commissioner, I'm the borough chief, right? And any job, think of any job out there, you're in an executive level. And the level below you of supervisor, you can't pick. An outside entity picks that person who works below you. That's very tough, right? If I'm the chief of Manhattan North and I'm in charge of all those precincts, but I don't get to pick who runs those precincts, that's a tough executive level. So I know from an NYPD executive level, that's a very tough thing to do. But I do agree with you, Bill. Is there nepotism? Sure. Are there captains who could have been great who were passed up? Yeah. Will this help them? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
It's a slippery slope. It's a tough call. It's definitely a tough call. Moving forward, I sent you something that somebody wanted to ask me a question. I don't know. Did you get a chance to see it in regards to? I'm paraphrasing right now. I think the gist of his conversation or his question was, you might have to. I don't know if are you on your phone or you're on.
I'm doing. I'm good.
Oh,
I was looking for your.
Look for the text message I sent you.
The long one.
Yeah. Maybe can you read it to everybody, please?
No, it's my turn because I'm 50.
Yeah. I'm gonna take my glasses off.
I'm 50 now, Bill. I got to put these on.
Brother,
now I got to put the phone also back real far from me.
It only gets better with time.
Let me know if this makes sense. So my thought on what a discussion on the issue of power. Diversity will cut down on nepotism and absolute power. Okay. If there is a way to level the playing with check boxes or solid qualifications, we need a system similar to what we used in the military, like sailors of the quarter. I don't know what that means. But who has a degree, who has volunteer work, who mentors sailors. Example, what makes, and it's capital C in quotes, a better choice than A? Crowd favorite. Just a reminder when we stop being the police. Do we need a better system of promotion and things? Yeah. I like the name grade. How controversial is detective grade in the police department?
Let me tell you something.
Your eyes went.
Before I got injured and left, I was supposedly I was going to get second grade. I know a lot of officers got second grade. You know, when I left, people were getting second grade for doing half of what I did in the street.
Yeah,
But it's all about who's liked and who's not liked. We all know that.
100%. I watched, Sergeant get promoted before me, who I trained. Right, and that was like, wait a second. I got years ahead of him. I've been here longer. He came to this place. I trained him. I'll still argue he's not up to my speed, but fine. And you promoted him first. He was another redheaded guy, so we couldn't say it was anything, but he had a friend, right? He got promoted. Was it fair? 100% no. Promotions in the police department are very tough. I think the grade system should be more open, meaning
body of work.
It's body of work. But I want it. So let's just choose Manhattan North Narcotics. They're told in 2021 they'll have 10 people promoted to second grade and 3 to first. I think the argument should be amongst the lieutenants. Like I suggest Bill Foster should be grades, first grade for this reason and this one. And the lieutenants kind of have a little bit of a battle and come up with a list of, who we think is first to last. If they can do it. If they can't, the captain gets involved and he makes that list.
Like, I give you a perfect example. And I'll say this. I think I was liked. I really do think I was liked about the masses. Yeah. Right? My niche, my work ethics could never be questioned on what I did because there wasn't anybody doing what I did. I say all that to say, but we know all it takes is one time for somebody to dislike you for something and your career is shot.
100%.
So I'm trying to find out, and I agree with what you were just saying, but how do we stop that from happening? Because like I give you, okay, I'm on the board of promoting Kevin Branzetti, but Joe Malley doesn't like Kevin because Kevin slept with his girl, or Kevin.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, that or Kevin told him to, and everybody, what we're saying, we're kind of giving you some insight on how things happen. Or Kevin told him to go. Kevin gave him the bird one day when he just was like, "Yo, do this," and there was a time when seniority mattered. Like, well, Kevin got 12 years, but because he's the nephew of a chief schlong, you know what I'm saying? He gets some love. So wait a minute, Kevin, you got to go to a detail. Wait a minute, I got 12 years. This dude got 2 years, and you're sending me to something, where it's like Save the Pigeons rally, and he's, and I'm being facetious, people, but I'm just trying to show you the kind of stuff that can happen in law enforcement. And Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, Save the Pigeon rally, and this dude's supposed to go, and it's a 12 o'clock midnight start to 6 a.m. And you're like, wait a minute, why do I have to go? And I got Saturday, Sundays off, and this dude doesn't. And they send you. I mean, Kevin, that we've seen that happen.
Oh, 100%. Look, we've all gotten screwed, and we've screwed others over, and it was kind of messed up. What I'm getting at when I'm finished with that grade thing is, I want it out on the table. But you're lieutenant, Bill. Maybe you're lieutenant. You're the top guy in the team, and you should be promoted. And he doesn't put you up, and that can happen. But I want to know who's on the table, and then I want to know the list, and the list should be public to us, so that Johnny's first this year, Bobby's second, Sarah's third, whoever it is. So you don't make the list and you're like, wait a second, this one's first, this one's second. I've done twice the amount of work they've done the last 5 years. I can at least walk into boss, what's going on? Why not me? And somebody better explain, And it gives me a chance also to ask for that transfer. I'm done. Like I'm not going to sit here every year thinking I'm it. I'm coming. When it's like, oh, then the year ends like, we're sorry it didn't happen this year. Maybe next year, Kevin, we'll try for you when nobody's really trying. I just want it to be open, right? So that me as the guy up for promotion, I know where I stand. I can't fight a system if I don't know where I stand. And right now, the way that system works, nobody knows it. Nobody knows who's up. Nobody knows who's getting it. Nobody knows who's going to come in with that last minute phone call. Beginning of the year, Bill, you could have been the number 3 guy to get second grade. Halfway through the year, because of a bunch of phone calls, you're the number 11.
Yes.
But if it's open, it's a little harder to pull off that trick. Right? If you know at the beginning of the year you're number 3, and then all of a sudden number 3 comes up and I got it, somebody better explain, because they just open up the city of New York to a nice lawsuit.
Absolutely.
Because you can't go from number 3 to not existent without an explanation. So I just want open. It could be a different policy. Open.
Mm-hmm. Right now, Kevin, I don't know if you know. Excuse me. There was a young woman. I don't know if I sent it to you or did not. A young woman was killed. Her and her fiance, I think her boyfriend, a man groped her. Stephanie sent this to me, and I mean, it's so heartbreaking right now that what we're witnessing in Harlem and just New York City, the crimes that woman was shot. She was coming in somewhere to a building. I think some person gropes her. She tells her man, which any woman would do. Like my sister, your sister. And I'm just using sisters. Like my friend Stephanie, if you told me this, I would react to this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you go back and confront the dude, and the dude shoots you. Like, how crazy is what we're experiencing right now in New York City?
You just I've had these fights across of my lifetime with my ex-wife. You don't know who the person is, right? And unless you're willing to go the distance, was it? Yeah. In retrospect, was it worth it to go back for a grope? No. And we've done this with road rage. We all of us, right? We've all lost it at least once this year on the road. Cut somebody back off because they cut you off. That guy then put 6 bullets into your car. Was it worth getting even with him? It ain't easy. It ain't easy to take the high road. It ain't easy to take a deep breath. Because your reaction is, that's my girl, it's my daughter, it's my brother. I don't care. You want to go back and defend them. I told you earlier, Bill, I have an easier time shooting somebody defending you than defending myself. So mentally, I would have more of an issue with this than the person defending me on the street.
I got you.
Right?
I got you.
So it's not an easy one.
Kev, I will say this. I carry my gun now more, not because I'm afraid to get into an altercation and I can't fight, but I carry my gun now more because I don't want to be God forbid, I get into an altercation and he pulls out a gun and I don't have one.
Absolutely. Or I don't want to witness somebody else die because I didn't have mine.
And let me tell you something. I tell anybody right now, I don't care what you've heard me say, and I'm gonna get close to the screen because I want people to listen to me. Whoever's ghost listening or not listening, or thinks Bill is anti-law enforcement or whatever the thing is, listen. I am about law and order, right? I'm about people of color getting just due, not the BS that's been happening. But please understand me when I say this. Do I want a safer New York? Yes. Do I have the answers to it? Absolutely not. But will I be a part of trying to help it if somebody asks me what my opinion and my ideology of some things were? Absolutely. Do I think that we need to stop coddling criminals and justifying it by, oh, some other nonsense? Listen, check this out. If you commit a heinous crime or violent crime, you need to stay locked up. That period. Foremost, totally different from suspended license because you didn't pay your parking tickets in
Mhm.
2002, and now you go to court because you're living paycheck to paycheck, so you don't have a $500 or $1,000 bond, so you should stay locked up. No, absolutely not. I feel you should take your little monkey ass home, and it is what it is, and come back, you know, when you get a chance.
Yeah.
But if you committed a violent crime, you bit a woman's face because she didn't accept your advances while she was just buying a little taste to go home. I think you need to be thrown a key, the key thrown under the cell until the system is ready to handle you. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you shoot somebody, you groped a woman, and her significant other comes out to defend her honor, and you shoot him. Like, where is your mental at in crime? And you know what's so funny? Man will get questioned for not handling his business. If he would have said, "Oh, baby, I'm like I can't deal with this because I'm afraid," he would have been dealt less of a man. The fact that he was a man and went out there and engaged in this dude and still got killed. Like both of these people are shot because somebody. Anyway, I don't know the case on this. I don't know if this dude got his mind is right. I don't know anything. I just know right now you violated a woman. You disrespected a woman, and then you had the audacity to be upset. And when you was about to get served, and you shot somebody. You
Mhm.
know, there's a new place in hell for him, right to the side. He got his own cell. He got his own hell timeout corner. You know what I'm saying? Like burning hell with that.
I am sure, there's other crimes that guy's committed. All right, like that's not shit that just happens and you could get into this dispute. We've seen these once in a while. Forget about the shooting ones where it happens and the guy punches the other guy and kills him.
Yeah,
For him to first off just grope some woman, like
it wasn't his first time.
normal dudes just don't do that. And then he has a gun while he's groping her.
Mhm.
It ain't his first rodeo.
Exactly.
And I would be shocked if they don't find some other crimes that his DNA or his something pops up in.
Mhm.
It would be surprising. There are animals out there, Bill. Unfortunately, there will always be animals out there.
Yeah, I just got clarity. The woman died, but the guy survived. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy that this shit would even come to a conversation like that, where yo, what? Like, I'm defending my woman's honor. I mean, this world was built on a man being a man, and I've always had a problem with a woman saying what a man is because it's different variables. Because a woman dates you, she has an ideology of what a man is. If she dates me, she should have a different ideology because we're both different men. And the bottom line is, you can't put me all in, lump me up in one basket and say, my man. You know, if woman A dates a man and woman B dates a man, their ideology of a man is totally different. So we'll never know. But the bottom line is, there isn't any man, especially you and I right here talking. if somebody touched my wife, grabbed her ass, dog. Think about, yo, listen, I'm shutting New York City down. I mean, think about somebody touch your daughter or your significant other, Kevin.
I'm
You
with
know
you,
what
Bill.
I mean? Like
Uh,
that's a call. If you call me and say, "Yo, Bill, they just touch my daughter," yo, Kevin, I got it. I'm with you. Yo, it's crazy. Like
it,
what we're experiencing
I
right
don't
now.
blame the guy for going back. Like I said, I get it. I get it. I get it. You know, he just picked the wrong animal. You know, and
What he took, what he did, he took a verbal. He took hands to a gunfight,
yeah,
not not knowing that this dude was armed, not even knowing that he was even getting into this altercation that was going to escalate to death. I'm
yeah,
sure he probably just went to the point where maybe I just go give him a good old knuckle sandwich. You know what I'm saying? And excuse me, everybody, for being old school with it. I'm just saying he's just going down there thinking he's going to handle his business with his hands. And this dude is out here. See, this is why I'm going to say this out loud. I think a lot of people right now have taken the longitude and latitude of not carrying a gun again because they're not worried about stop, question, or frisk. I will
100%.
I will say this: stop, question, and frisk was necessary evil. It was used wrong. I'm personally saying that. I'm a black man. It was used wrong. Let me tell you something. When you stopped me or Kevin Branzetti, when you didn't stop 12 dudes that's been on the corner for 24 hours, then that's the problem in lieu of that. I blame the officers that messed this stop, question, and frisk up because the bottom line is right now there isn't anyone in the five boroughs of New York City that is scared to carry a gun because right now, if you get pulled over and you get stopped and you have a firearm, there is no articulation for stopping and question and frisk a person anymore.
Nope. They ain't cops. The cop would be crazy to do it.
Exactly.
I wouldn't do it.
No.
Yeah, and I did it.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
so
I mean, listen, I've chased guys down the street where I fought guys in the building, and they next thing you know they running and they throw the gun. So let me tell you something: the laws, the things have changed. I don't know what we have to do going forward for there to be a safer place. And I'm so sick and tired of people talking about liberals and Republicans. The bottom line is we all want a safe street.
100%.
We got hired off of the Dink administration, Safe Streets, Safe Fund, and Giuliani. And this is what I'm saying because I know factually he came and he piggybacked off of what he did, what he implemented, and he rode that horse all the way to the gates of the city, and the cops backed him because they were mad because Dinkins tried to quell that man getting hurt on the roof in the Washington Heights when the Washington Heights was about to explode, and damn near almost all the white cops, with some black and Latin officers definitely joining the bandwagon, lobbied against him at City Hall. And the worst thing I ever saw was officers, active MOS, holding signs talking about Jenkins is a monkey, bananas, hating stuff like that. And I was working for the mayor's office at the time, and I was down there, so that's why I saw it. Because at the time when it happened, I was not on the job yet, and
Mm-hmm.
I saw officers that I knew later known to me, and they were marching and they were picketing against Dinkins, calling him out of his name. It's the same thing I saw what they did for Obama, the same thing I've seen that they did for like so, and it was law enforcement.
Yeah,
It wasn't anybody else. It was racist cops
should have
that
been fired.
actually should. But when Giuliani and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, when Giuliani gave law enforcement zeros, They thought about doing it, and you and I were on the job at this time.
Mm-hmm.
They thought about doing it, and Giuliani told them the first officer that come down this way, he's gonna get fired. And it was crickets at City Hall. You
It
had
wasn't
pitch.
the about protesting. It was the slowdown, the kind of the stuff. And yes, they talked about firing us and 100%. Look, back to the Dinkins protest. The cops had a right to protest Dinkins, and I'm fine with that. If you had that sign, fired. Right? Yeah.
Listen,
I think.
people always say to me, he said, Bill, you need to run for office. Listen, New York City can right now. I'm not saying they couldn't handle me, but I come in. Let me tell you something. I dare, I dare a cat. Let me tell you something. You like Pat Lynch? I serve his ass on a platter. You talk against me, yo. I'll have you guarding the seashore. Let me tell you something. You never talk against me like disrespectful. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't. I don't. I don't play the disrespect game. Let me tell you something. You're a delegate. Mullins, any of them, come talk to me. We can sit down and we can have a good conversation about what can I do, what can you do to make this police department a better place. But you come out here and call me this and call me that. Let me tell you something, dog. I'll change your position quickly. You'll be the president of the union, but you'll be back in uniform somewhere, guarding seashores and watching water splash the deck. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's real talk, everybody. Excuse me for
Yeah.
getting into my emotions right now. This is Real Talk Chronicles. This is Bill Forster with my co-host Kevin Branzetti.
So,
Let me. What are these people out here saying? Let
so,
me see.
so Stefania wrote, my neighbor said to me that she thinks that crime is up because people are getting desperate due to the pandemic. What do you think? So I disagree with that.
Me too.
So if you're desperate for the pandemic because you're lacking money, then that's theft. So if theft is up, I'm with you on that. It could be that. That ain't murder, right?
Right.
Like, the average human being who's desperate to feed his family is not going to walk around with a gun to shoot people. You're going to steal.
Right.
So
Right.
theft
Right.
up, okay, we can go with some theft up. Might be that. Murder is murder. And Bill hit it more on the head. It's we now don't. People feel safe walking around with illegal guns in New York City. They know cops are going to stop them. 6 months ago or so, Bill, I had bumped into a gentleman. He was arrested. He was brought from downstate. He was in a cell, and I was walking by the cell, and he screams out my name, and I was kind of like, the brakes on, sat and talked to him. He was from 119 in Lenox. He was arrested, part of a conspiracy case there from the 90s. He was arrested on.
Right.
And he just got picked up for something stupid for his parole. He got in trouble for. But we were talking, and he goes, it ain't like it used to be. He goes, when you guys were out there, the brown car. He goes, we knew that was coming down the block. Nobody carried. He goes, I watch cats. They got 2 guns under their arms. They don't care. They know nobody's going to search them. Those guys in anti-crime, he says, they just drive by. They stop the car. They roll down the window. They talk to us, and then they keep going. Nobody searches us, so we don't. So guys carry.
And the sad case is the fact that you got people justifying carrying guns and shooting at cops in lieu of what some officer did someplace else, not in New York City. Let's all hold our police departments accountable for what they do, not for what happens across the world. Don't be mad at NYPD for some redneck did in Kentucky. And we know that this whole Kentucky is responsible um, for what he did, because the bottom line is that's unfair to any white officer in New York City that's ever done good police work, and which is a sad state of affairs that's happening around the world. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host Bill Forster with my co-host Kevin Branzetti. Um, we're gonna close out in a few minutes, but let's Kevin, let's just finish out what people are saying um, before we get out of here. What's the next one that you saw, Kevin? I saw.
I think that's
She said, "Oh wow." She said, "Oh wow." Stephanie said, "Oh wow, that's scary. I never truly realized how domino effect played out. It makes sense though." Pinky said, "Amen, Bill. This is not all mental disease. Sometimes it's ego, edging God out. Absolutely. Stephanie said, my neighbor, okay, she saw that. Sad times when living in, it's truly a very scary time. Oh wow, this is a messed up but surprising. Listen, everybody, let me just say this. Let me give you a real talk. Bill Foster Chronicles service announcement. Ladies, please carry yourselves and posture yourselves in a different mentality. Walk like there's some edge to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when I say edge to you, be careful. Like the days of just walking and the guy, hey girl, you might have to look back at dude and say, okay, thank you, thank you. You know what I'm saying? But get on the phone, call. Hey, listen, I'm not saying be a Karen, but what I'm trying to say is be a woman that watches her back all the way around. Protect yourselves, ladies, please. Fellas, protect yourselves too. We're in states right now, we're in times where crime is. I really don't know. All I say is protect yourselves. There's so many things I want to say I can't say due to certain censorship, and then I want to keep Real Talk Chronicles live and popping. But
Trust your
Kev,
gut.
yeah,
Trust your
yeah,
gut.
yeah.
If your sixth sense is telling you that something's wrong with that guy, walk away from that guy. Trust your gut. It is right far more often than you believe. Yeah. I'm a big believer in you got to trust your gut. When you feel somebody just doesn't feel right, walk a different way. You're walking on the street alone, walk into a store, walk into a bodega, take a moment, catch your breath, and then look around and then see. But now, if you find yourself every night, you feel like somebody's following and watching you, then we might have to have a different conversation. But if this is something that's very rare, once in a blue moon, trust your gut.
Absolutely. Listen, I probably will start the seminar that I was doing called self defense awareness. Some things, and even I might bring Kevin in on this, where I would give you the do's and don'ts of how to protect yourself. Not that everybody has to study self defense, not that everybody has to have a firearm, but there are certain things that you can do to exactly. And if you're interested in that, please inbox me, let me know so I can put that together again and we can do a special segment that's a private event only situation where we can do self-defense awareness. I can start that up again and give you some tips. Kevin and I'll do that with Kevin, and we can just honestly posture ourselves to protect ourselves better. Should women carry tasers or pepper spray? I don't think that's a good idea if you don't know how to use it. It's the old
If it's
cliche.
legal.
Yeah, that too.
And if it's legal. I'm not going to tell you
the old
carry.
cliche. I've seen, and it's going to tell you, Steph, I've seen people carry knives, and I've seen them get the knives taken away from them. Uh, Back in the days, some people carry knives and they pull it out and they think it's the equalizer, the scare tactic, until a person realizes, like, wait a minute, you're holding that wrong.
And you're
You know,
shaking.
you're shaking.
Your hand's shaking with it. I'm taking that knife.
Taking that knife and sticking it in your ass. So, like I said, if you all want me to do a self defense mechanism seminar, please let me know. I'll have it. I'll have Kevin come and join along with it, so we can just give you some do's and some don'ts. Maybe invite some other people on that can give you some insight. Right now, Kevin, give us some positive love before we get out of here because it's past our time.
It is
So,
past our time. I have a story for you next week, but we'll go
okay.
to positive stuff. What's I might have lost this time. Usually I have some real quick and easy stuff. We talk about change a lot and being a part of it.
Mhm.
Do something to be a part of the change. And that it could mean something tiny, something large. You're hearing things we're talking about, like, things that city council are looking to do to the police department. And we're giving you what the effect is going to be. Call your council member. If you believe us, call your council member and talk to them and get their stance on it and tell them why we think this law might not work and there may be a better solution. If you live in New York City, it's your city. I moved to a suburb outside of the city. I don't want, my city that I grew up in to turn into what I believe is going to happen. These laws will get rescinded eventually, right? Somebody will come along after realizing you can't force cops to work when it's not safe for them to work. Talk to your city councilman. Chewing their ear off and getting 5 of your neighbors to chew their ear off will make a difference.
Yeah, amen to that. I mean, I have dual residency. I play in New York. I play at PA. It depends on where I'm moving and how I'm grooving. I mean, I've been blessed to be able to own places in different places where, due to the pandemic, I really ran from New York, to be honest with you, because just it was congestion but I'm everybody knows I'm still New York hard body. You never know where I'm at. I'm here, there, I'm Savoir Fair. I'm Bill Foster, I'm everywhere. Oh, shit, I'm about to rhyme, Malika. You heard that? You know what I'm saying? Everybody.
Hello, Malika.
Yeah, so
my husband's a rapper.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with Kevin Branzetti, my co-host. This is Real Talk with Kevin Branzetti every Wednesday. Next week, Monday, I think I have a tentative show for you. I'm not sure, but I'll wait. Also, Malika has the sign. What is it?
I think you're asleep.
I'm tired. I'm very tired. Design interactions. Check out Soft Illusions. If you need a website, please. Kevin Branzetti, let them know about what you're doing with the trafficking, please.
Well, if you find my Facebook account, I put the thing up there yesterday, trying to raise some money for it. The National Child Protection Task Force is an entity I co-founded. We are mostly law enforcement, but a lot of private sector people who are just volunteering a ton of our time to help find missing, exploited, and trafficked kids. The problem is massive in this country, and the resources being put at it is minimal. So we're there. We're trying. We've worked on hundreds of cases last year, and we plan on doubling that this year is the goal.
Awesome. Good shout out to that. I mean, shout out to all my Real Talk hosts, Al Taylor, Assemblyman Al Taylor, Allison Williams, Pastor Graves, Kevin Branzetti.
Shout out to Bill Foster.
Yeah, shout out to me. Shout out to Malika Vaughn, Foster too. Real Talk Chronicles is a movement, everybody. All we're trying to do is bring you the best information that we can. Please, we're working on some stuff behind the scenes. I don't even want to jinx it yet. I can't even tell you about it right now. I'm working on some real powerful stuff. Let me tell you something. If it comes to fruition, bang, Real Talk Chronicles might be on TV. Who knows? I say my blessings.
I thought you said you were going to sing.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say what I'm working on. I just said I was.
Good night.
Okay, good night.
No fighting on the air.
Listen. That's why she got the last name. You know what I'm saying?
Happy birthday again, Kevin.
Everybody, let's give Kevin some thumbs up, some claps for his birthday. He made 50. Exactly. He looked like he's 69 years old, but he's not. I'm just playing. He's young. He's young. Yo, listen. Oh, what's up, sir? House is in the building, Kevin. What's up, House? How are you? House is in the building. Pinky, thank you. Great show. Great information. A self-defense class would be welcome. Thank you, Bill and Kevin. Stay safe, and thank you. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. We will see you very soon. Everybody, we appreciate you. Stay safe. Stay warm. It's get cold. Please be careful about shoveling. Wear your mask. COVID-19 is still real. We can talk about that. It's another time. We love you. Kevin and I appreciate you. Happy birthday to my dog. He's part of the 50 Club. He's young and vibrant. He likes to climb rocks and shit. I don't know why, but it's all that's what Kevin do. Everybody, we're out of here. Real Talk Chronicles. We see you later, baby.
Good night.
Good night. Share it, like it, subscribe to it.
Good night.
Good night. Exactly. Night, night.